when I describe this overnight success of Spartan that's taken 18 years, 15 of which we were losing money. Anybody with half a brain would have quit 3 years in, 4 years in, 5 years in, 10 years in. But I take a really, really long view in everything I do, never looking for the quick win. And I think the payoff that comes later is just much bigger and tastes better.
Well, Joe, so honored to have you on the podcast. It's been a long journey of me joining Spartan and just the life change that you have made for me personally, as well as for my family. I'm honored to have you on the show and have a chance to talk with you about a couple of the really pressing topics today as it relates to mindset, to being unbreakable, and to being a Spartan parent, we'll call it. And we'll dive into that a little bit and want to hear some comments on how Joe views parenting in today's day and time. So let's start with the fact that, Joe, you had Spartan rolling. You guys were on a high. You were just crushing your mission to get 100 million people off the couch, and you acquired Tough Mudder. So all these great things happening, and then COVID hits, and you got to do this massive pivot as an organization. So just walk me through how you, as the leader of Spartan, just took the organization and pivoted during that really challenging time.
I didn't do much. Our team is pretty amazing. And I think a couple of things. I think one is when you have no choice, it makes it easier, right? When you go from having 325 events planned around the world to zero, you have no choice. You're not going to eat. You're going to die. And number two, I guess as a leader, I don't get phased or frazzled very easily. It's just, part of the job. And so maybe the team feels that. Maybe somehow I channel it mentally, and the team, they just got after it. They FFIO, they figured it out. And lots of content, lots of merchandise sales, lots of things on the horizon around membership. So, they killed it.
Well, and I think, sometimes when you're forced to do something, right, it challenges you to think in ways that you wouldn't have thought before because you're kind of in a comfort zone or just going down a certain path. And I've looked at some of the new things that you've released from a Spartan capacity and, the content now. You've gone from bringing people to your events to now having to reach people in their homes where they are. And so things like Spartan Fit, the new app you guys just released, great way to reach people where they are in their homes. Talk about some of the specific pivots that you made, like related to the app, as an example.
Yeah, well, we've been in a tremendous tech deficit over the last 20 years because I'm not very tech savvy. I didn't want to spend the money there, and we just never had time to deal with it. And now we've got lots of time. Kind of like, if you owned a hotel right now, you're probably doing a lot of maintenance because there's no customers. And so we dove in, we rolled up our sleeves, handed it to the tech team, and they're just figuring all this stuff out. We got a new website coming out in 2 weeks. We've never had time to deal with that, and now we had time to deal with it. So you saw the app. There's a lot of cool stuff coming that we've had in the works for 20 years, just never had time to do it.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing, right? Movement creates momentum. And the one thing that you and the team did really well was when COVID hit, a lot of people just stopped. They had that fear mode, that panic mode they went into. Our friend Patrick Sweeney talks about the fear factor, right? And how people have that fear and they go to that fight or flight mode. You did the opposite at Spartan. You created movement, you created momentum for the organization, and now you're reaching people everywhere in a whole different capacity. So let's switch for a minute and talk a bit about Joe's philosophy on parenting. I know that Spartan Kids has been a really great organization. It's really grown as a part of Spartan. You're an amazing dad, and you post a lot of content around the importance of being a present parent and being involved. But you got some certain things you do with your kids to help raise them in the way that you see that they can go out and handle adversity in the world. So talk to me a bit about Joe's philosophy on parenting.
Yeah, so I just believe that we should be putting obstacles in their way, constantly challenging them, removing the bubble wrap, letting them fail, letting them lose. I know it's heart-wrenching for a parent, right? I want my kid to win. I want my kid, but you're not teaching them anything if you're if you've got a safety net under them and you're constantly catching them, they gotta fall, they gotta get hurt. And so it's, it's really three things. It's work out every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Most days it's 2-a-days, because if you're fit in body, you're going to be fitter in mind. Eat healthy. Learn another language. So Mandarin is their second language. You can watch as much TV as you want as long as it's in Mandarin. And then we're lucky enough to have some folks around that don't speak English. They only speak Mandarin. So the kids learn that. And then, they got to, like I said, they got to eat healthy. They got to train hard. And then math. Math is a big one. When you hear most kids, can you hear me well?
I can hear you right.
When you hear most kids talk about what they're troubled with at school or why they didn't get into a college, it's like math. And so we're just going to do lots of friggin' math, a lot of math. And math frustrates you too, so it's kind of like an obstacle. It's good, right? Develop that growth mindset.
Well, and I know that you and I have a very similar philosophy with our kids, and that we are really big on helping them experience failure in their youth, so that when they get into adulthood and they face those real life obstacles, right, they understand how to handle failure and how to move through that failure and overcome that obstacle. And because failure at 8 is way different than failure at 28, right? Especially when you've never dealt with failure before, it changes dramatically as you get out into the real world, and especially the world that we're now involved in. And you put your kids through some physical obstacles, and you talked about during COVID how you've actually gotten your kids up early in the morning and had them out carrying kettlebells and rocks and going on hikes and doing some really cool things in the morning as a way to get them up, get them moving, get them active, but also create those habits and rituals that are going to translate to success later in life. So speak to me a little bit about some of those routines you do with your kids to help them be prepared to overcome obstacles.
Well, I mean, pre 6 a.m., every day of their life, they've gotten up and worked out, but it got a little more intense during COVID, right? Because we're on the farm, so up and down the mountain every day for, I guess, over 100 days in a row, carrying weight, rope climbing, lots and lots of rope climbing, and then a second workout at night. I just don't like any, like right now they're probably on devices because they finished math and they finished their Mandarin, and they finished their workout. But I'm going to quickly get them out doing something because I can't stand kids idle on devices. I want to vomit.
Well, look, we did the same thing, and you've been an inspiration to me in so many ways. I was talking to our Spartan friend Jonathan Fine the other day, and we were talking about how we moved onto a 15-acre farm, and I said, I just can't get away from Joe's influence on my life. I feel like everything I do is a little bit of Joe involved in it, right? We traded the beach for some land to raise our kids in the same way that you guys have done. And a big part of that is so that they have that experience where they can just get outside, be active, and not be sitting on a device. I think it's a hard thing as a parent, right, to balance that. So when you look at your example, I mean, I think that's another big piece of this, Joe. You are very intentional in the example you set for your kids, for your team, and everything that you do. You practice what you preach. And for me as a father, I think that's a critical role to play, is to always be that example, a positive example for your kids of what to do. What are some ways that you maybe model that or have modeled that for your own kids?
Well, I mean, I'm doing it with them, right? I'm working out every day. They're seeing me do the workouts. They're seeing me eat the salads. They're seeing me move the family over to Asia so we could dive in and study Mandarin. Yeah, I'm in it with them. So, a friend of mine said last night at dinner, he came over the house and the kids had given me a scroll. Okay. I got it on film, actually. You could tie it into the podcast if you want. Kids had given me a scroll. It was about 6:30 p.m. And the scroll said, you have been summoned to a fight 8 minutes from now upstairs. It was like an ancient scroll writing. And my friend filmed with his phone as I walked up the stairs. And sure enough, all the kids attacked me. And he said, the crazy thing? I said, what? He said, the kids literally think they could like smash a lamp over your head and it's okay. Somehow I've created this ethos, we're unbreakable. But like I had to say, guys, you're killing. Like, stop! You're hurting me.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, I think that's just a great example of the fact that your kids also see that one, you are engaged with them, but two, when they want your engagement, all they got to do is present you with a challenge, and you're all in. So that's great. So last night, our family, we have our basement, and we were building our gym out in there. So we've got our Spartan combat mats right in the middle of the basement. The kids just go crazy over those, and we got a rack with an awesome chin-up bar, pull-up bar. And so the kids were down there last night doing burpees and doing pull-ups and just going at it. They helped me put the whole thing together, and they just loved it. And then, of course, it's the same thing. Dad, we got to get on the mat and go to town. And it's fine when it's just one of them, but then you get all three of them on you, and you get a couple of cheap shots in there, and it's like, all right, enough's enough.
Yeah.
Dad's getting too old for this.
I know.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, look, I know our time was short today. Maybe we'll have to do another meeting coming up and check back in. But I want to thank you, Joe, for all you're doing to lead the Spartan Nation, the Spartan team, both globally as well as Spartan Kids. I know you got a book on parenting coming out soon, so we'll be supporting that and promoting that to help all the parents learn the Spartan way with their kids. And just the impact you've made on my life personally and my family, I can never thank you enough for that. So look forward to getting back out there in the Spartan course here soon with live events. So Aru, take care, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Thanks for listening to the Daddy Saturday podcast. Be sure to subscribe to join me and thousands of other fathers on the journey of raising good kids to become great adults. And be sure to check out daddysaturday.com for our latest resources, content, and epic ideas for how you can be a more intentional and engaged father. And we'll see you here on the next episode of the Daddy Saturday podcast. Thanks for listening.